All right, welcome to Goodish Girls. I'm Dallas.
And I'm Kass.
And we are super excited to be here, hanging out, talking about one of the best series created, in my opinion, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Forewarning, this is a spoiler series. We are going to be talking about the entire book, even in the very, very first episode. So if you have not read the book, please go read the book or listen to it. It's very nice. Or both. That's what I like to do. And then come back and listen to our episodes about it. We're going to deep dive into what happens in the book. We're going to go through the theories that we have and talk about all the characters and just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to cry together, laugh together, have a good time.
I'm very excited. So today we're going to start with chapters 1 through 5. Again, we will be going back and forth through the entire book. So again, the entire book will be spoiled if you have not read it. But we're mostly going to focus on the first couple of chapters to start off. In this book, we start out very strong. Page 1, we are in it, right? Page 1, the main character is on. And we know that we're in Zalaran City. And we know that the Guardians are not to be fucked with, as they say. And then again, in page 1, we talk about how a neighbor was gutted in the street, and then also the main character's mother, like her throat was slit first thing in the middle of the street. So once you open the book, I was like, whoa, let's read the rest.
It's a pretty rocky start. You're kind of like hit with all the trauma. Mm-hmm. And I think that also helps you, though, the rest of the book.
Yes, 100%. I knew what I was getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in Zalaran City, we do not have a map of this area. In the book itself, the map that we have is when she goes through the portal and she goes to the other side. So what we have to kind of describe Zalaran is we have a quote in the book that says, like most cities, Zalaran, the great and shining banner of the north, was fashioned after the shape of a wheel. Around the city's outer limits, the different spokes were walls designed to keep people contained within their wards, towered 50 meters high above the shanty towns and overflowing sewers. So it does give us a pretty good description, I think, of the area that we're going to go in. And so, it's like little sections. So it kind of tells us when she's going from place to place before she heads over to the other side where she's at. And these walls that she climbs. We also know it's hot as fuck out there. When our FMC or female main character is describing this area, she says, during reckoning, when the suns, Bal and Min, were at their closest and the afternoon air shivered with heat. So we know that there's 2 suns, not just one. Mm-hmm. 2 suns based on the goddesses. That is hot as hell. So everything is almost on fire all the time. And she also notes that the prison beneath the immortal queen's palace is the hottest place to end up. And she was there for 8 minutes one time, and it was awful. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, not so much the layout, but like the way that she describes how everything is set up. It reminds me a lot of Hunger Games. Like, if you've read Hunger Games before, having like, or almost like even sometimes Divergent, where you have the different factions, mm-hmm. and then each one has their own issues or their things that they have. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of liked that. That's kind of what drew me in, honestly, I was like, oh, what's in each one and what's it going to be like? But then it also sounds like a terrible place. So then I was like, I really don't want to know much about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it states that in the third ward where she lives, it's the worst of the worst, mm-hmm. right? Like, they don't have access to anything. Like, Queen Nar just completely cut them off. So it's really as bad as it can get there. But if you're on one of the other sides of the walls, it's not terrible because they have green grass and trees and fresh water. So it's still hot. There's still 2 suns. So still not a place I'd want to live, but probably more bearable than what she was doing. She was like having to encounter
Florida, but worse.
But worse. Florida, but in Arizona.
Gross.
Awful. Just dry sand. So when we're in the first chapter, we immediately meet the Guardians, and we know that they're really, really important. We know that they're not to be messed with. They're super tough. So in this, she's actively being choked by a Guardian. But what I thought was really, really funny was that she's like, damn, he's handsome. So she's in it, she's actively being choked. She's like, that dude's hot. And you know what? I get it.
Me too. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, this is my kind of girl. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then as he's actively joking her, he's like, what's your name? What ward are you in? Like, where are you? Who are you? And she obviously lies about her name because she's like, I'm not giving that away for free. It's not happening. But then she's like, and I'm single. And she winks it. And I love that kind of bravery. Okay.
If I could be an FMC,
it would be Sarah Spain.
It would be her if I really could. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I do love this. I love this about her, and this is why she is one of my favorite female main characters, is because we do nothing on Feyre, just nothing on the girls of ACOTAR. I love them very much, but I do love that even though she's very dehydrated, she doesn't have food, she is very thin, she still is like, fuck you. I'm very strong. I know what I'm doing. I can fight. I can do all these things. And I love that about her. I love that she didn't show up like this tiny, frail, whittle, oh no, woe is me girl. And then she like learns to fight in a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that she's like, no, I was raised this way.
Right. Yeah. She's very strong in general as a female main character, but not in a way that you're going to get annoyed. You know, sometimes when you have those like really strong female main characters where it's just like, F you and F this and I don't need you and I don't need this. And it's like, all right, can we just
I guess who you're talking about? Please? I'm gonna name it FMC and I bet you $5. It's DM, isn't it?
It's who?
Is that it? Never mind. Here's my thought. We got this out. I read this series and the whole time I was like, Kass is gonna hate her. Kass is gonna hate this girl.
Oh yes,
Kass is gonna hate this girl.
I remember you telling me that, and I remember when you gave me the option of what book I should read next, you specifically said the stories of each one in general, but you're like, you're gonna hate this girl, and I was like, I'm not reading that book, actually. Forget it.
It's on our list.
I'll get to it when I get to it.
In my mind, I was like, Kass read this and she hates that girl.
Mm-hmm. No, I just hate that in general. But
that's the best part about Luther is that he can tolerate Dia. Okay, back to our book. Back to the important stuff.
Ceres.
So we do know that the Guardians are super, super important. They're trained for a really long time. They go through all sorts of different methods of training, fighting, like torture methods, waterboarding, all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. We also know that Queen Medra only chooses the hottest ones. So if you're not attractive, you're out. You're out of it.
You know, if you're a queen, why not use your power for
unimportant
things?
Agreed. You got to be hot in all that armor, right? And there's so much armor on them that they literally can't even jog.
That's true.
So they look good. They're walking around, but they can't run. I don't know if they have to practice running without it at all. But they're not running with it on.
Who knows?
So as we're going through, when she's in a chokehold, she's trying to figure out like how to lie to this person. She's like, this is, here's my other name. This is not my real name, because she doesn't want them to know that she's the Ceres Fane. And I also really liked that she already has a reputation of being like this mischievous badass. I thought that was pretty cool. So she's like, you're not going to know it's me. This is my fake name. This is my fake everything. By the way, I'm single. And then she tells him what ward she's from. And this is where things become not so sexy. She's like, I'm in the 3rd ward. He panics. He's in shock. He's like, ugh, ick, gross. because that ward is quarantined, right? So she notes he carries a plague bag on the side, and I didn't know what this was, so I did look into it a little bit. It's like a small bag filled with flowers and herbs, and it was put on to ward off like the Black Plague. Some people wore them on their hips, some people wore them on their faces. In this book, they wear them on their waist, on the side, on their hip. And I was like, what is a plague bag? What is that for? Like a throw up bag or what? I don't know.
They definitely dive in more about their specific plague bags in the next few chapters. Like, I know I have a whole little section on it, which is crazy. So I know it says he says it not only is to ward off the Black Plague, but it's also used by believers.
Yes.
And so that has to do with, obviously, the queen and everything. So it's really interesting, the weird things they do to try to save themselves.
Isn't that wild? And then as she's like, no, don't hurt me, she puts on this act, right? And then she's like, my whole family, they have the rattles. And that also was a fun word that I had never heard before.
Really?
It's a fatal respiratory illness. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what that means. What's the rattles? The flu? I don't know. But now I know. Fatal respiratory illness that was used like way back in the day. So I thought that was kind of a fun little piece of knowledge there. In the moment that he has the opportunity to just get it over with, kill her, be done, he looks around. This guardian looks around. And he's like, and she tells us, he's like, oh, there's nice trees around. We're in a nice area. Can't leave her just decomposing here. There's fancy people around. So can't do that, which is where he messed up, right? He should have just made the decision, but he was like, no, better not in the moment. And this is where things kind of speed up because I don't know if there was like a delay in this guy's brain or what happened, but he was like, you have the plague. Gross. And then he like buffers, right? Kill her, not kill her. Decides not to kill her because he's not in the right area. But then he remembers that he touched her with his hand. And then he's like, ew, you have the plague. You have the sickness. And he has a gauntlet right on his hand. And so he takes off the gauntlet, it's dropped on the ground. He's like, ew, don't touch. And Saris, being the wonderful thief that she is like, an opportunity. I see. Instead of these small pieces of metal and iron that I have grabbed and stolen, which is why I'm over here in the first place, I'm going to snatch this piece of gold and run. So she does this really cool maneuver and snatches it. And she's like, I'm out. Bye. And she's running, right? And this is where we find out, like, yeah, their suits look great. They're super hot. They're buff. They can be waterboarded. They cannot run. They can not even jog or climb. And the gauntlet that she's carrying, she does note that it's 4 pounds she's carrying with her.
Yeah, which is wild to me. Because
that's one piece.
For her to escape and do what she's going to do, the whole time I just kept thinking, there's no way that I could physically do this and carry something in my other hand or around me, which is wild. So the fact that she even attempts an escape couldn't be me. I could not be her.
I would think that before I became a mom.
Well,
but now, you know what? I'm a 13-pound Velcro baby, and I still got 2 hands.
Moms have superpowers, okay? So
I'm like, 4 pounds is nothing. It's fine.
Over here, I'm like, okay, Rico, could I carry my little dog around with me everywhere I go?
Hold him and try to climb something. We can see how it goes.
I don't think you would like that. Try to scale a wall one-handed with a dog. Not gonna happen.
I believe in you. Oh man. So as she's trying to climb this wall, she has the gauntlet. It's 4 pounds. This is kind of where we get our first glimpse of her like abilities. So it says the gauntlet hits the wall, and it's mentioned as quartz Like the gauntlet hits the wall, as mentioned as quartz, is knocked loose. It rises up, and the gauntlet actually speaks to her. And it says, she sees us, she feels us. She sees us, she feels us. My question is, and we know throughout the book that she can obviously like talk to, bargain with, communicate with the Quicksilver itself. Does it mention in the book, or am I missing a piece where it says she can communicate with all metals? Or is there Quicksilver in Zilvarin in all of their suits?
So I do remember this part, which I recently read this book a little bit more recently than I guess you have. But I do remember it mentioning that all older metal in Zilvarin has hints of Quicksilver. And they did that on purpose way back when there was Alchemist. So that way there were more things for them to manipulate or control. And I know we end up talking about it a little bit later too, but whenever she mentions the random times that things spoke to her or that she somehow made them move and she didn't know why, and it being the Quicksilver, that even in the old things that she was working with somebody that we're going to meet pretty soon, all of those also contained it, and they have no idea. So, because there's no alchemist left. So, yeah.
It's really fun because I think that these small details are missed so easily. And I go to back to like the very, very beginning of the book, where when you open the book, you'll see there's a quote in there that Callie Hart had put in there. It says, "Never forget, monsters thrive best in the dark. Commit all you read here to memory. Prepare for war." And I truly think that this series that is building, because this is obviously the first book of the series, I think she has planted a ton of Easter eggs in there. I think she's done a ton of foreshadowing. As we're going through the book, I think there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to pick up, and I think there's probably even going to be some things that we're like, oh, I literally did not see that coming.
Yeah, like this part. Honestly, I totally forgot that it spoke to her.
Right?
I
happened so fast.
Had no idea that I didn't catch it because I wasn't thinking about it. And then later on, now coming back to it, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big part. How did I not recognize that?
Exactly. And then going back and reading that part again and being like, wait a second, is it really quartz? Is it Quicksilver? Is it in this? Is it in that? Can she, as an alchemist, can she do all the metals?
Right.
So I think even forgetting those details throughout the book, going back and like rereading it and really thinking about it is kind of cool.
And that's chapter 1.
That's chapter 1.
That's chapter 1.
We jump in.
Yeah.
We just not mess around. Like, we're world building, which I like. Like, we have it like this is what the world looks like. We're good. Moving on.
Right.
And not that I don't appreciate like good world building. I truly do. But I like that she doesn't really skip a beat. She does it in a really nice manner. I would, in the next book, really like to see a map, because from what she has stated in Brimstone, when it comes out, our 2 favorite boys that we will get to talk about later on, go back to save my not favorite boy and bring him back to Ceres. So my hope is that we get to see more of that area. We get to see more of Zilvarin, and we have I don't know why I feel the need to see a map, but Callie Hart, I want to see a map. Can you just draw one and tag
Why didn't you put one in there?
I need a map.
Are you not a fantasy book?
I love the other map that we have. I look at it all the time. Your description is great, but I don't know. The map girl in me needs to look at it and be like, this is the wall she climbed. I see.
As somebody who is not interested in world building, like, I'll read it, okay, but does my brain remember most of it? No. I'm not going to lie to you. And I think we've talked about this a lot. We're very different in that you remember all these crazy little tiny details of the world. And I'm like, yes, she lived in gross place, in lots of place put together with walls. Like, I don't know. My brain doesn't care. And so for how she starts the book, it's enough world building for you to be like, okay, got it. But then she moves on that, like, for people like me, you don't get bored. Where you're like, oh my gosh, a whole nother chapter again. So I like that. I do like that about her writing style.
Yeah, this is why we're on the podcast, so we can talk about the world building, the building of the world. So as we're going through, we get through chapter 1, we know what's going on, we know that she's in this crisis. She gets over the wall and she's like, see you later, bro, I'm out. And she leaves him in the dust. She goes to see Elroy, sweet Elroy, who's an old man who loved her mother before she died. R.I.P.
Rip.
And after she died, he like withered away. He used to be this super strong guy. He worked with the rebels. He used to make like these really awesome weapons. And then decided, nope, I'm done. We make glass. That's what we do. We're glass makers, right? So he has a forge. She grew up in and around the forge. She knows what she's doing in a forge, which is a huge part of her journey and her story as we're going through the book. And she brings this gauntlet to him, right? And she's like, Elroy, I brought this gauntlet. We're gonna be like taken care of, right? He's obviously super pissed. He's like, what are you doing? Why would you bring this here of all places? Why would you just you don't come home immediately after you being chased, right? And I really laughed at this part because he was like, if they come in here and they bite it, they're gonna cut off my hands. How can I make a living with no hands? How can I work with no hands, Saris? And I was like, Saris, he can't work without hands. And then he gives her 15 minutes to get the gauntlet out of the forge. I was like, that's very generous, Elroy, because you literally could lose your hands. You give her 30 seconds. 30 seconds to get out. What are you gonna do in 15 minutes? Sit around? Like, what are you doing?
They're gonna talk. What's crazy to me is that like he has this really like deep, crazy past where he did all these like really illegal things, and then now he's just so different that he's like, oh my gosh, why would you do this? And it's like, sir, you did this for a living. What do you mean? Like, what? You know why she did it. Stop yelling at her.
I didn't think of it that way. It's very pot and kettle. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until now. I was like, yeah, he's right. Why would you do that? Why would you bring it home? 15 minutes. I was like, oh, that's too long. You have 5 minutes max.
He's a relaxed parent.
Yeah.
It's because he used to be in it. He's like, 15 minutes, I'll still be fine, but get out of here.
Could lose my hands, but
I'm just exaggerating a little. Get out. Like,
no big deal. Okay. And then this is again where Saris kind of gives us another little look into her abilities. And she says, sometimes objects shook around me, objects made of iron, tin, or gold. Once I'd been able to move one of Elroy's daggers without touching it so that it had spun around and around on my mother's dining table, balancing on its cross guard. And that's again where I went back to the question, like, is it all metals? Is it is the Quicksilver in everything? Which now you clarified that it is in all things, which I think is super cool. But then I also question if the Quicksilver can speak to her. Right? Like she sees us, she hears us. We know later on in the book that the Quicksilver doesn't ever shut up. It's loud.
It likes to be known.
It has a voice. It wants to be heard, and that is fair. However, how is this poor girl not losing her mind? Why are these little baby metals not talking to her? If there's just a smidge in there, does it have to be a certain amount before it can speak to her? Right? So the thought had crossed my mind. I was like, why is this girl not having fake like schizophrenia, or like said like where she's like, the voices, they're there?
I feel like that's a great question, and I don't think I ever thought about it, like about how much of it has to be in there for it to speak. But
my guess would be like a little bit, like a drop.
I mean, we know that there can be just enough for her to feel it. You know, it could be like the tiniest little like sesame seed amount, and she can feel it. And it can like thrum to her, or like she can control it randomly and has no idea why at this point. because there's obviously not that much in those daggers for her to know at this point, or for any of them to know, unless they remember a time where there were alchemists and these things happening. But yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting to me. The questions. I have them. So as she is leaving Elroy's, or right before, Elroy brings up her younger brother, right? Hayden. Hayden is 3 years younger than her. And he is described as like, he's still young, like he still has a life to live, like you're going to ruin it for him. And she's like, I'm doing this all for him. I'm doing everything for him. And when they are talking about this and then they say his age, I got a little upset. I was a little mad because I was like, I'm sorry, this grown man, he's 20 years old, grew up. She's only 3 years older than him. She's only 23 years old, right? And she's like, I'm doing all of this for him, my baby brother. Your baby brothers are grown up. What's your baby brother? Does he have a job? Nope. And what is he doing to provide?
Does
Nothing.
he work?
Does he work? Does he do anything?
Does he steal things? What does he do for you?
And I feel really bad because I want to love Hayden. I truly do. I don't think Hayden is a bad person. I don't think he's a bad person. I think that he, like, after reading in,
he's
lazy. That he was coddled.
Yeah.
I agree. She coddled him. And I don't know if the mom did, because it doesn't give us a super ton of information on how that was. Maybe just like a smidge. But I just wonder, like, they grew up in the same environment. They grew up with the same people.
Right.
There's still two suns in the sky. It's still hot as hell out there. And this guy, I'm not going to call him a boy.
This man
that's being babied is like at the bar messing with our beautiful Carrion Swift, right? Because that's where she finds him, on the ground. Because she's like, hey, I'm out, Elroy. Like, I'm going to go. It's fine. She takes the gauntlet with her, and she's like, I'm going to go find Hayden. She finds him on the ground, broken ribs, like bloody, bruised.
Because
that's with Carrion.
And he threw away everything he was given.
Yes. She's like, here's money for water, 20-year-old man. Go buy water. We get 6 ounces a day. 6 ounces.
Instead, I'm going to go gamble. I'll be back.
I'm going to go gamble with the one person that always wins.
Also, they grew up together, right? Mm-hmm. Why does he not work with Elroy? Why hasn't he learned any of the skills from Elroy?
Because they baby him. Because they coddle his ass.
Mic check. Is this on?
Yeah. Like, hello? I want the people in the back to hear me.
That's just wild to me. It's insane. Like, why?
Can we call him a Nepo baby? Is that okay?
I don't think he's a Nepo baby in the third ward.
He gets to waltz around the third ward like it's nothing, right?
He waltzes around trash and sewage all over the ground, people dying, dead bodies laying throughout the street. And he's like, I don't give a crap about my life. Let me go throw my money away to play some cards with this guy that
just give me this money. Let's go.
And beats me up all the time. Let's go.
For real. Honestly.
Oh my gosh.
I can't. So she goes, she's like, look at you on the ground. You're pitiful. Get up. And then not only did he lose the money for the water, the 6 ounces a day that they get, that he was supposed to buy, he loses the scarf that Elroy gave them. So that's like a really big deal, right? Mm-hmm. And so she goes in, she's like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to confront Carrion, right? Which is where we finally get to meet this wonderful man. I love him from the start.
See, I didn't.
We're supposed to hate him, but I can't.
And I did hate him. And I did.
Let me change your mind for you. Let me help you.
No. I don't need you to change my mind now. I finished the book. But let me put it into real perspective for these people when they read it, because not everybody is just going to be like, wow, this piece of trash man, love him. 10 out of 10.
the trash. He's not. Here's why.
Dallas, it takes the whole book for you to figure that out.
But when you go back and reread it.
How many times did I call you when I read this book and said, what is the point of him? Why is he here? He's annoying.
And I couldn't tell you anything, and it made me really sad.
Right.
I wanted to just spoil the whole thing for you and be like, look again when he's because they're in the bar, right? And she's like, dude, she's like, WTF, what are you doing? Like, you're not supposed to touch him. We had an agreement. I know that you're the most handsome. I know that you are the best in bed. I get it. And he's like, and he's obviously like acting cocky in this bar. He's like, everybody look at me. Sarah's just talking to me. Sarah said my name. Sarah said Carrion. But as they kind of like go off onto the side and he's like, have a drink with me. One drink. He obviously fills it full to the brim because one drink, even though it's two in one glass. Mm-hmm. He is pretending to be this like cocky guy. So everyone around is like, oh, Carrion's being normal Carrion. But really he's like, there was a girl that I heard may have stolen something really important, might be a little stupid. And I hope that she didn't bring it to the third ward, bring it home to Elroy's shop and try to hide it. Right? So he's like trying to help her. And he's like, if she did, she might take it out of there and hide it somewhere safe, like his warehouse. He offers up his own warehouse, right? I think that's bold.
I didn't read it as that. When I read it, it came across as you have this thing that's worth a lot of money. I think you're stupid for doing it, and how dare you bring it back here. But also, I can take it off your hands.
Really? I didn't get thief vibes.
Not in a thief vibe. Like he's asking her, can I have it? Can I have that? But also in the way that he's like, can I have it? I want the money from it. And you did a stupid thing, but let me take it off your hands. Then it makes everything easy for you. And then I get all the money from it.
I think that's how I wanted to save his grandma. He takes care of her. That's the only reason he comes back to the third. If she wasn't there, he would be like, bye, third, I'm out, right? Because he doesn't even live there. He lives on the other side. Somehow he gets over there with his warehouse, right? His grandma's the only reason he even comes back to that town. And if the Guardians come in, Graham is done. His grandma, Kassidy.
I can't speak right now.
Millie agrees. I can see it. So I missed this the first time, but when I went back and looked at it again on my Avenge Carrion Swift journey, he says one final line at the end before she like leaves Kalas and leaves the bar and is like, I'm out. And I think it was genuinely sincere. And he says, even filthy and tired, you're still beautiful.
Yeah, but reading that right after you just met him,
you might take it the wrong way. But you should. Yeah, I don't think you should.
I think everybody takes it the wrong way.
I think Callie did it so perfectly that I don't think you could have written him better.
I think he is set up that you
love hate. You might love hate him.
Right. Yeah. And now I love him, right? That doesn't matter. I finished the book, right? You get through the end of the book, you love him. There's all these great things that happen. But she set it up so perfectly that he is the most annoying little piece of crap that you're like, why do you keep showing up everywhere? I don't want you here anymore. You're useless. You're not helping anything. You're just standing around doing things,
oh my gosh,
following her on her journey. And not being helpful.
Well, he only had one shoe, okay? He lost a boot in his defense.
Oh my gosh. All right, move on. I'm done.
I think I'm out. So anyways, he's like, hey, you're so beautiful. Like, even disgusting, I still love it. So she's like, fine. I'm going to go put this gauntlet somewhere else. I'm going to go put it somewhere else. Because before she went in to talk to Carrion, she gave Hayden her bag. She's like, take this bag, Don't do anything stupid. Just stand right here. She gave this 20-year-old man one order. Okay, she goes outside. He's gone, obviously, because he can't listen to anything anyone ever says.
And so is the bag.
In book 2, I really hope that he is redeemed. I want to love Hayden. Because Hayden's not a bad guy. Hayden just doesn't think. He doesn't think before he does
He's
anything
lazy.
else.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He has no sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm. Or survival.
Right. Yeah.
And he does, I'm going to give him some credit. He does try, right? Because they come out of the bar. She's like, oh, shit, he's gone, right? So she's like, and she's walking. She's not running yet. Because she also knows that when people run or even like speed walk, jog in that area, it means they're being chased and everyone's going to panic, right? So she's like fast moving around, and she is moving past like all these shops and things like that. And she passes a snake oil dealer. And I think that this is some sort of foreshadowing or an Easter egg, either for maybe in this book or the next book as well. She says, humans are no longer capable of reading each other's minds or making the blood boil in their enemies' veins or granting themselves eternal luck. Everybody knew that we'd been stripped of those heretical powers hundreds of years ago. I wonder if in the next book, is it going to come back? Right? Is there like they were stripped of it, but who did that? Who stripped him of that power? Where did the power go? Is it like a spell that's on the power? Is it something that has to be done to have them get their power back? Is Zelvaran going to become like this new magical land? Could they eventually bring Zelvaran's temperature down with their magical powers, even though they have the two suns? Or was it? I don't know.
I have no idea.
That line kind of got me.
It doesn't talk about any of that anywhere in the rest of this book. So it has to be coming. Or it was just a fun little thing that maybe she'll forget about and then it won't show up again. I don't know. But I feel like she always has a reason for everything that she says and does in her books. So
I want to believe that she is building like this awesome series where things are going to intertwine and connect. And I think that, and I believe that because of the bonus chapters that we eventually down the line, once we're like towards more of the end of the book, we'll get into, which I already have so many thoughts on. I think that she does everything on purpose. So I think that this line is in here for a reason. I think a lot of people are going to just skim over it. Like, oh yeah, cool. Humans have magic. Amazing. Moving on. But going back and reading again, I was like, I wonder if they're going to get that back.
She's like the Taylor Swift of writing.
Yes.
little hint.
We'll know 4 years from now about the line.
Yeah.
Oh man. I also question, because like as she's running through, or not running, she's slightly speed walking towards this area, right? To where she thinks that Hayden might be. Like, oh, did he see the gauntlet? Is he going to sell it really quick? Like, what's his plan? What's he doing? What little spark in his brain is off right now? And then she notes that Queen Madra is actually like human, right? So she's human, but she's also immortal and she's been around forever. So why is she still alive? So we know, again, spoilers for the entire book. We know at the end of this book that she is Malcolm's sister, who is the vampire king. He chose to end the vampire curse, right? He chose not to end it, unlike everybody else who chose to end it and go back to like being regular Fae. I don't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it really mentions whether or not she was one of them and then she converted back. Was she not one of them? Is she actually human who stripped everybody of their human powers, and did she take it all? Is that why they don't have any powers? Is she not actually human at all?
I don't think it answers any of those questions you just asked, but in my brain, which this is probably completely wrong, is In my brain, I just transferred her over to Fae because she's been there forever, and because she is siblings with Malcolm. In my brain, I'm just like, yeah, she has that long living like ability, this weird power that they share as siblings. It doesn't really go into it. It doesn't tell you why. I would say, like, you get a lot of in-depth about Malcolm, but I feel like we still don't know a lot about Madra. So,
well, and then Bellicon is also Fae, right? Who is the brother?
Yeah.
So I feel
they're all three intertwined.
Sense. So maybe she went over and then she took the throne and was like, "Hello, I'm human. Also, I can't die." And people were just like, "Got it." And then they just moved on.
Unless she only put that out there for them to not think about her as Fae, because you're going to find out how everybody is terrified of the Fae. They have these horror stories about them. So she's probably honestly just lying so that she can continue to rule forever, right? Yeah. And that goes in definitely to the next few chapters. A little bit later on, you're going to find out, like I said, a lot more about the believers and the system that she has in place. And there's all these little weird things that she has done over the years to build that. So,
yeah, I agree. Part of me, I wish it would have said something. I just wish it would have told me, so I didn't have this question. But I'm probably one of like the very few people who have read this book that's like, hold on, what is she actually though? Like once she's out, they're like, good riddance. She's gone. I'm moving on with my life.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it'll talk more about it in the next few. I feel like it's not the end of that trio. I feel like more things are going to come out about them.
I would hope so. At least, not that necessarily them coming back. Like I'm cool with them, right? Like Malcolm's done, right? She's the queen. She's in it now. But I would like more information, just to kind of tie it up in a pretty bow, and then we can send them on their way. And then I'm not going to say it now of my theories of what's going to happen in the next book. That's later. Right. But we will come back to that at some point in time. I can't do it.
Too far.
No. It's in the bonus chapters. As she's going down, she's moving along, she's going past these things, she's in her monologue thinking, and she hears screaming. She's like, oh no, that's coming from like the east. The mirage, she calls it the mirage to the east. So only bad screams come from that area. So she's like, that's gotta be hated. I gotta go. So now she is running, right? And then she's met with 30 guardians in full armor with Hayden backed against a wall. And she does know in this time that the guardians grew up in nicer places by luck. And Queen Madra is attempting to eradicate the third ward, which we kind of got the impression of that at this point in time already, right? So it depends on where you were born, depends on where you live, depends on what your face looks like, whether or not you get chosen to be a guardian and trained to be a guardian. I also wonder how many of these handsome boys flunk out of training. It doesn't tell us that. They can't all be good at everything, right? They can't all be handsome and train well and be able to get through torture.
In my brain, I was like, they're Nepo babies. They get what they want. They don't have to be good at it. They're probably still in there. They just are like,
oh my God,
door duty or something. I don't know. They open and close the door of the palace.
The rich parents are like walking down. They're like, you're doing great, sweetie. And he's like, thanks, Mom. I'm a guardian now. I can't. So anyways, so her and Hayden are there. There's a ton of guards around. And then they start arguing. And she's like, I took it. Like, it's mine. And he's like, no, it's not. It's mine. And they start arguing. And then she's like, okay, this is not working. They're like, you could never, you're not the one, girl. Go home. They immediately underestimate this girl, which is also frustrating. They're like, this man obviously took this gauntlet, when in reality, it was his like older sister. Right. So that was frustrating to me. I was like, bro, did you not listen to the guardian when he most likely went to you and was like, hey, there was this girl and she stole my gauntlet. Like, what did he tell them? Did he not say anything? Was he like, I lost it and some person came by and took it to the third
No,
floor?
he totally had to, because they talk about how they can get in serious trouble if they lose their stuff to any lower person. So there's no way that this guardian Nepo baby went and was like, I pretty much handed it to her. And she escaped and I couldn't catch her because I can't run in my outfit. So, like, there's no way he said that. He probably was like, this man came and attacked me out of nowhere.
Big man.
And he had the disease and he spit all over me. Like, he probably made up some crazy story. There's no way he was like, I took my glove off. I put it on the ground right in front of her when I decided not to kill her. And then, oh my gosh, she took it. She was faster than I thought. Like, he should be fired. He should be fired. And that's why I believe that all the Nepo babies, it doesn't matter if they were good or not, still made it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I'm changed. I get it. When I was writing this, I never thought about that one time. I was like, he obviously told them that it was this girl. And I was like, why are they dismissing her? It's so rude.
No way.
No, you're right. No, he was like, the big dude came in, touched my plug bag, couldn't handle it. He stole everything.
Okay. He can't lose his Nepo baby status.
Yeah. So they were like, girl, this doesn't concern you. So she's like, okay, I'm like, we're in it now, right? So she pulls out this teeny dagger out of her boot and she just kicks all their asses, right? She's like dodging and swaying and swiping, and she kills two of them, right? And then she like maims one of them, essentially. Another person loses their hand. So lots of hands being lost in this series.
Lots of foreshadowing happening.
Hey, hands! If you know, you know.
One day y'all know.
They should know. Everyone should have read this book already.
That's true.
If you're doing this without reading the book, that's going to suck. So she cuts off one of their hands, right? She kills two. Another one's maimed. She's eventually arrested, right? Because they're like, okay, you obviously stole it. I'd like to know what the repercussions were for that guardian as well, Nepo baby boy. Did he lose a hand? Where are his hands? For lying? For not? They're just gonna make fun of him forever. They're gonna be like, hey,
they probably sat him down, gave him a nice warm meal, gave him
a warm glass of milk.
They probably even did a bunch of tests to make sure that he doesn't have the plague. Like, they probably did some crazy ceremony where they're like, Queen Madra blesses you. You're not going to die. Next time, little tap on the hand. Next time, don't drop it, okay? Hold on tight to your things. That's what it's there for. Okay, buddy? It's like a little 5-year-old. Hey, buddy.
Oh, my God.
Hey, friend. Next time,
gentle parenting.
Hold on to your belongings, friend. I feel like I'm at work.
Should name that. Put your name on them.
Hold on to all of your belongings, okay? If you lose it, unfortunately, we can't stop for it. So,
yep, he's that guy that TikTok. I almost died. I could have died.
They're all crowded around him, just rocking him. Oh my gosh.
I need to know what happens to this man. I need to know. This is
let me email Callie Hart about this. I gotta know.
One day we're gonna get an interview I'm gonna interview her and I'm like, okay.
I have one question.
What happened?
Oh my gosh.
So she's kicking ass, she's running around. They're like, okay, this is not good. So they get her, they arrest her, right? They're like, you're going. She turns around. She, in her heart, is like, okay, I'm going to do this because out of love. She tells Hayden he sucks. He does. It's okay that you said that, Sarah Fane. It's okay that you told him that he sucks.
Mm-hmm.
He does get a little bit of sympathy because he did try. He was like, no, dude, it was me. Like, I'm gonna take the fall. Like, I'm gonna do this. He did it all wrong.
He
but
didn't try hard enough.
Props
but
for
that's
him
okay.
for trying.
At least he said something. Good job doing the bare minimum.
I also want to know what he was doing this whole time that she was like training to fight, right? Because if she's fighting these guards, when there's two people in altercation with a bunch of people around them, and one of them's like, okay, we're fighting now. The other one also is like, this is my opportunity to also fight, right? They both start fighting. I think he just stood there.
Yeah, it doesn't say that he does anything.
He does nothing. He does nothing. He doesn't even have that weapon.
He grew up around a man who made illegal weapons.
And worked with the rebels. Little sister's out there with a dagger at 4 years old, probably.
Never once thought, hey, should I learn this? Is this an important life skill growing up here in the 3rd?
Yeah,
even I'm going to go play cards with my friends, actually.
Yeah, even the mom's like running back weapons. Like the whole family was in weapons.
Except for Hayden. He was definitely the baby. And treated like it. Yeah. He's just a baby.
They didn't help him. He's just a baby. Yeah. So anyways, he tells her that she tells him he sucks. He does. He believes her. Sweet baby boy. 20 years old. He's like, this sucks. I can't believe it. Fine. I hate you too. And they go on their separate ways, right? Mm-hmm. She's doing it out of love because she's like, don't follow me. Like, don't be dumb.
Right.
Listen for once in your entire existence. One time, please listen. And go home. Go tell Elroy what happened. Like, get out of here. Go. Right? He actually listens, as far as we know.
Congratulations.
Thankfully. Good job,
He had his listening ears on.
Proud of him.
Good job, Hayden. Tiny snaps.
Yeah.
For a tiny man. All right, anyway.
So she's being taken in. And as she's like being taken in to the palace with Queen Maudra, she talks about her younger dreams, and she talks about how she used to dream about being like a lady maid for her and being her favorite lady maid and having like, she goes, hundreds of bottles of perfume. That was like a dream of hers, and to be like the best one, right? To eat the good food. And then she's like, eventually it was still that same dream, except she was dreaming to be able to kill Queen Maudra, which I thought was kind of fun. That's a good dream that evolved in something to more realistic. Dream. I mean, the queen sucks as well, so I don't blame her. I do feel like it was far-fetched to wish for that many perfumes, but hundreds.
Not when you're queen.
It's a lot of sense, especially with like, I don't know. I don't like it. I was like, that's
you're gonna sweat it right off with the 2 suns, anyways.
With the 2 suns, not putting anything on my skin. Ugh, absolutely not. So she's in a cell. She's there all day. It doesn't say whether it's above or below, but I'm assuming it's still pretty hot. But she made it more than 8 minutes, so I am proud of her for that. I'm assuming it's not below in the prison where it's like the hottest. So she makes it all day. She's greeted by Captain Heron, who it turns out to be like a pretty somewhat semi-important person in the book because he does show up again towards the end. So I have a lot of questions about him as well that I don't feel like were answered. So she's greeted by him, and he gives her some water. Very kind. Yeah, very.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and you know he's handsome.
He's very handsome. Can't run.
Yep.
So cute. Gives her water, and she's drinking it. And he's like, "Whoa, dude! You're gonna make yourself sick." And she's like, "Don't talk to me. Like, this is a gift. I'm drinking it." Because she's like, "Do you know how much water we get over there?" And he's like, "I'm sure it's plenty. Like, Queen's gonna take care of you." And she's like, 6 ounces a day, bro. 6 ounces.
That's it.
That much. And he's like,
I don't even think that much. I think it's less than that. That
looks it did quote that. I did look because I was like, I don't want to.
No, I mean, I mean, your hand gesture.
Oh,
That looked more like 12 ounces to me.
okay. Hold on. The bottle starts here. The bottle ends right here.
It's just a baby amount.
So tiny. Yeah, no, 6 ounces, not very much water at all. I do think that's per person though, so at least that it's not like family
It
of three, two, four,
is.
two,
So
four,
you
six
can
ounces.
steal other people's water if you really want to survive.
That's true. And you know, Ceres does that. She does do that because
Uh-huh.
she steals from the queen's reservoir. She like sneaks in and gets fresh
Yep.
water, which is why she looks healthy and why those three look healthy because the other water is contaminated. He's like, no, it's fine water. And he's like, there's a filtration system. And she's like, there's a grate. It's literally a grate. All of the sewer water, all of the nastiness goes in there through one grate, and then it's their drinking water that they get each day. And he for a second he's like thinking, he's like, hmm, okay, it seems a little like red flag.
Right.
It goes off. He doesn't do anything with it. He moves on. But there was a red flag for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it also does mention, which I didn't realize at first, was everyone who has rebelled or caused any sort of anarchy is in the third.
Right.
Like there's some who have been placed in the third. So the third
Yeah.
is genuinely set up for failure. So I think thinking in Queen Madra's shoes, like if I was going to take down a lot of people or like have them like self-eradicate, I would probably put all of them together and then I would also probably try to poison them slowly. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of work. I also might just go in and be like, you're done, we're out.
Well, and I mean she talks about that.
Yeah, she does. She does.
She straight up is like, the water's disgusting and there's no plague. You guys think that we're plagued. You think that we are gross if you touch us. That's not why we're sick. We're sick because you're giving us dirty water and you're poisoning it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like you said, Heron's literally like, hold on. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But then he's also like, that's not true.
He checks his blood bag still there.
You're just a piece of filth from the third, and I don't believe you. Like, there's just like so much built into that hierarchy there. It's crazy.
And it's also interesting because the guardian that was like choking her, right, and who realized that she's from the third, was like, ew, like don't touch me, like take my armor off. Captain Heron doesn't seem to be all that. He's like, have a drink of water from my water container.
Right.
Like, I'm going to walk you. And he keeps pushing her. He's like walking her. So he's around her. He's touching her. So like, did he know the whole time that they don't really have the plague? Like he seems to be higher up in the, like towards Queen Madra's guard. So he just doesn't seem as concerned about it.
Because he's higher up, does he believe that he has some higher up protection based on those things that they have in place? You know, like the plague bag and being a part of her guard, right? You get all these special things. You get special protection, especially when you're that high up like he is, being like her second-hand man. Mm-hmm. So he may just be like, I have protection. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be fine. Like, you know,
fair.
That was something I thought about, but I don't know if that's true. That's not anything they mention or expand on.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, why are you not worried about it, right? So he thinks about it for a moment and then he moves on, right? He's like, okay, I thought about it. I actually don't care. I'm going to go.
Right.
So then she's taken to this room with huge wooden doors and it's locked. She's like, that's weird. Why is it locked? Right? So then he unlocks it with a big old key. They go in and she states that the air in the large vaulted room beyond was no cooler than anywhere else in the palace, but there was a strange quality to it, as if it were thicker than normal and hadn't been disturbed in a very long time. Right? We eventually get to find out that this room is very, very important. She also says something long and narrow protruded from the platform. From a distance, it looked like some sort of lever. I couldn't tear my eyes away from it. My attention seemed to be snared by the shadowy shape. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't rip my gaze away. The closer we drew, the more focused I became, as if the platform were drawing me to it, beckoning me forward. And then I also bring back our original question, how much Quicksilver does there need to be for it to speak? Right? So because it's a lever of some sort, which we now know is not a lever, it's actually a sword, because it's larger than like the daggers and things like that, is that why she was like, I'm drawn to that? Like, I got to get to that, whatever that thing is. Or is it because it was such a special item made out of Quicksilver? Do you know what I mean?
I would say both. I think part of it is the Quicksilver pulling her in, and then because she can feel that Quicksilver on top of it, she can feel how special it is, right? The rest of them, you find out, well, I mean, at least from what you can tell in this part, is that they don't think much of that sword, right? Or like Heron's not thinking about it over there.
Right.
Right. He's like,
for a long time.
Yeah. And later on, yeah, problems happen when she does approach it. But I don't think it's in like his mind that this is something that I need to keep her away from.
Right.
So.
Because she's normal, boring human girl.
From the third
ward, plagued. But he's not worried.
Special. She disgusting.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And then she notices the pillars with the carvings and marks Bal and Min, the twin sons, both identical and cruel. Right? This is where we get into fun theories. So I scoured the web and I could not find any sort of like comments or interviews with Kelly about where she based these goddesses and gods off of. And I couldn't find like Reddit pages, things like that. Like I looked around. So I went and found my own theories. So if anyone's watching this and you have a theory, you have an interview that I missed, you have some sort of information, I'd really like to know, because I want to know what she based these characters off of. And if they're going, I know they're going to continue in the further books. I think they're really important to the books, but I need to know. Right. So I have two theories. I don't know if either one of them are legitimate or valid, and I have no basis other than this research that I did myself. Okay. So we have Zareth, who's like the god of chaos in the book, and then we have Bal and Min, we have the twins, right? Or as in Sylvar, and they call them the sons, right? But we know going through the book that there are two real twins.
Right. And we will definitely talk about them soon.
Sure. I love them. So the theory one is that in Greek mythology, you have Castor and Pollux, who kidnapped the two daughters of, and I'm gonna mess up these words, so don't come at me, please. The two daughters of Leucippus, or White Horse, who are twins. Then their names are given as Phoebe and Hilera, which are Phoebe for bright and Hilera for shining, which strengthens the solar symbolism. So bright and shining, sons, could be sons, right?
Yeah.
This next theory, though, that I have, I think is more like plausible. So you have in Greek mythology, you have chaos, right? Or which they have it as like Khaos, is the primordial deity, or the first god and the firstborn. So like prior to Zeus, like the first of the first of the first, like the very, very, I don't know, bing bang, whatever you believe in thing. He was the first primordial god who is sometimes described as the emptiness of the world before anything came into being. Hence, it reminded me a lot of Zareth, like god of chaos in the book. Can see all, know all, can mess with fate, cannot mess with fate, right? And he eventually, we know, knowing to the end of the book, that he kind of like resets Ceres and like takes her off the map, basically, right? Like, so he could do that. And in this, he, the god of chaos in Greek mythology, has two daughters. He has Erebos and he has Aether, which are of light and day. So which also could be sons. So
yeah, that sounds a lot more like the second one sounds like it lines up almost more of how things play out in the book. Which the next episode that goes over the next few chapters, we dive in a little bit more about those three. And then obviously we know at the end of the book, they show up again and we get to hear from them in first person and all that stuff. Yeah. So Yeah, I feel like the second one is probably more aligning with her writing, but I don't know.
I would like to know. I would like to know one day, or if, I mean, she could have just been doing her cool author talents and just like, God of Chaos. I like it. He has two daughters, they're twins. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe she has a set of twins in her family, and she's like, you guys are awesome. I'm gonna write about you, right? I don't know. It could be that. I would like to think that it's more towards like research and mythology, but it could be anything, right? It's her book. She can write it how she wants, and I love these characters very much. So one day I will give us answers. I'll find it out. Go to a book tour or something and be like, hey, please answer these questions. So she's in there. She's in this weird room, right? There's a lever to the side that we know is not a lever. The queen finally comes in. She's obviously not worried about the plague either, because she's like, I apologize for the shackles, but I'm not overly fond of lowborn rats from the third either.
Gosh, I hate her.
You never know where their hands have been. In the very least, they're always dirty, and it's so hard to get stains out of satin. So she says nothing about you got germs, you're going to get me sick. None of those things, right? I mean,
no, she's
immortal.
She's just a bitch.
Right. Yeah. True. Fair. But she's like, sorry for the shackles, but I also didn't want you touching my dress. It's really cute. So the queen questions where Sarys learned to fight. She's like, where'd you learn to fight like this? Right. And she's like, oh, I taught myself. Because she's like, I know when you're lying. Which at first, when I read that, I was like, oh, she has like some sort of cool power that's like lets you know, or is she just really good at reading people? Because she's like, I know when you're lying. So Sarys is like, I taught myself. And she's like, liar. Which I also knew was a lie, because we know that she grew up with people who did weapons and like fought and did those things. So I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know why you would lie immediately. Just say that they're all dead.
Right.
So and so trained me, they died.
Well, she's protecting everybody.
I mean,
right?
Yes. Like, I get it. I don't know. I think she could have. I just feel like she could have come up with like a better answer, a
better non-lie, like something that still she doesn't have to give away any information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Like maybe this random this person, I don't know, person's name, random, not real, right?
That's a lie. Who are you, Feyre? Like, what do you mean? That's a lie. We all know how that turns out.
I mean, there's got to be somebody in the third ward that she hates. Bye, Claire. I miss you.
R.I.P.
Just pick someone in the third that you don't like.
That's still a lie. She's still gonna know. How are they gonna know?
And you know what? I thought that at first, but I don't think she would, because she immediately goes paranoia and is like, you're the Fae. It's the Fae. The Fae are coming for me. They're coming to kill me. The Fae are here.
Yeah.
And Sarah's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What do you mean?
The Fae?
What do you mean?
And she like looks at Heron, and Heron's like, I don't know. Right? So I don't think that she has special powers to tell if you're lying. So I think you could have just said enemy number one in the third ward that you don't like.
Maybe.
Carrion Swift can't tell me how to fight.
No, because then we would have actually lost him.
I don't know, man. He's clever. I think he would have got out.
Maybe.
It's Graham, though. That's a different story.
It's Graham.
I don't think she would have survived.
That poor woman.
I know. I want to meet her in the next book. I hope that she comes around.
I hope.
I mean, I
feel like she will.
I feel
like they're all gonna move and be together.
Mm-hmm. Graham, no.
Maybe Graham and Elroy will get together.
Graham's like, I mean, it doesn't matter, because we don't care, but she's like really old.
Elroy is too, though.
But she would only have like a couple years with him.
Okay. So are you not going to adopt an old ass dog from the shelter because you'll only have a few years with them? Say that to Rico's face right now. Say that to his face. You're going to look at me and you're going to tell me I'm wrong. Why can't she have a happy ending?
I really hope we meet this grandma. She's gonna be spicy. She was vegetarian for a long time. She's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
You know what she might do? Put Hayden in his place.
Yeah. He might actually learn a few things.
Maybe. I don't know.
Elroy might go back to doing illegal things. We never know.
He needs it. He needs to get his spark back.
He sure does.
Poor man is floating away. 15 minutes to get out. Ridiculous. No. So anyways, so Queen Madra's losing her shit. She's like, the Fae are coming. You're part of the Fae. Like, so eventually Ceres is like, okay, I'm gonna lean into the paranoia. Like, I'm gonna help her with this crazy reality she's got going on. So she's like, yeah, okay, they're totally gonna kill you. She's like, how? And she's like, I have no idea. She believes her because she can totally tell who's lying. No. And so the whole time Ceres is like trying really hard not to look at the lever, right? That we again now know is a sword. Mm-hmm. So she's like trying so hard not to look at it. And then the queen finally states why they were in this room that was locked. And the whole time I was like, why are you taking her to a locked room? Right? She's saying the same thing. Why are you taking me in this locked room? Mm-hmm. Why is there a lever in this locked room? And then once we learn the importance of that room, I understand that the queen's like, I needed to come and check. She's like, I needed to come and check on things, make sure that things are still in place. Nothing's been touched. I haven't been here in a while. If you had even an inkling of a thought that the Fae were here and that this person is Fae and she could fight really well, why don't you bring her to the most important place in your palace? Why? Why is she there? It's like you are so confident and so cocky that you were like, nothing's going to happen. It's fine.
Right. They literally set it up.
Yeah. They're like, here, let me unlock this door for you to this cool pool that's full of silver. Oh, let me put you right next to the sword. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. I'll put you right next to it. It made me laugh quite a few times. I was like, okay, we could have made better decisions, Madra, but all right. Her brothers forgive her either way.
Mm-hmm. She's the only girl, so you know.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're in there, Queen Madra's like, I brought you here because I wanted to check everything out. Potential Fae assassin. So now I'm gonna go. Everything's fine. And then she's like, Captain Heron, like, take care of it, kill her, and then go kill her family, and then maybe like the whole third ward. Right. So she's like, it's probably fine. And then she says, and this is where I just like, so I somewhat for a quick moment resonated with Amarantha. I'm sorry. Just for a moment. This Queen Madra says, I can see you're so mad. It's fine.
Well, all right, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
In me, she's like, make her sing, Heron. I want to hear her music echoing from the dungeons to the towers. It's been too long since we heard something sweet. Obviously, she's talking about her screams before she dies, but I thought that was kind of fun. If I was an evil queen, that's what I would also probably say. Kassidy? Hello? What's happening? Alissa?
She froze.
I was like, where did she go?
I know. I was like, that was a really good point.
I know. I was like, are you ignoring me that hard? Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're no sound.
Am I back?
Yeah.
You're back.
Okay. Did I pause? Because on my end, it was like Ollie, you froze.
You paused.
Oh, all right.
Where did you lose me at?
No, I heard you say that if you were a queen,
okay,
you would like, and I said, I'm sorry. If you were a queen, you'd what? That's where I was.
Okay, so
okay,
if I was a queen, if I was an evil queen, I would probably say the same thing. I'm sure she gets kind of bored.
You're wild. You're a wild human being.
Saying. But it's boring to be a good queen. I don't want to do that. Just saying.
I mean, I get it. Like, you want to have some fun. But
Just a little bit.
I think she picked the wrong person. Like, I don't know. I don't find that appealing. I'd be like, you can do whatever you want, but I don't want to watch it. I don't want to hear it.
Oh, I was like, she's not going to watch it. She's got other things to do. She probably got lunch to eat or something.
She's eating her lunch, listening to her
Being like,
scream.
I hear it.
No.
This is why we go to Disney. I like the evil characters better.
I love them too, but like, damn, Dallas.
We listen and we don't judge, Kassidy.
No, we didn't. We are not playing that game. I am judging you right now. That is a wild thing for you to say. And honestly, I'm a little nervous to come to your house with your 6 acres of wood behind it because you'd never find me out there.
My crown on, you better run. JK.
Midsummer, here I come. Okay. All right.
I really thought that you would be like, I really thought we would resonate on this. When I was typing,
I really did. I was like, wow, what a bitch.
I was typing it and I was like, Cass is totally going to get this. No. I misunderstood the assignment. I'm sorry.
No, I misunderstood because Alissa agreed with you. So
okay. So Harry and her, they're going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of thinking about it. She's like, man, maybe don't. I don't know. And he's like, hey, I'm going to make it easy for you. Like, we just need to let her hear a little bit of it. He's like, I'm going to take care of my queen. And then I'll like make it quick. Right. Nice couple screams or two. And then we're good. So I think he's Captain Harry is trying. Right. He's like, I got this powerful lady I got to keep happy. I also don't want you to be miserable the whole time. He doesn't even taking joy out of it. He's like, I got a job to do. Right. Like, I don't want to lose my hands.
I guess.
He didn't say that, but I'm just guessing that would probably lose because we got a lot of hands going
Not
in this place. Gotta keep my hands. And so he's like, it will hurt for a minute and then I'll like end it swiftly. We're done. Right. And then we get another glimpse of Cerys's mystery powers and abilities. So as a second dagger is about to go into her, the blade stops midair. Right. So he's got this blade. He's like about to put it in and it stops. And he's like trying to put it in her. And it's frozen. And then Cerys says it somehow uses her mind like a third invisible hand. Mm-hmm. Right. And there's a voice inside her telling her to unmake the dagger. And then the dagger melts away and turns into like liquid silver, basically. Mm-hmm. Right. Heron is obviously shocked. He's like, what the fuck is happening? Right. And as this is happening, she also has like a whole blade, like from the bottom of her stomach all the way up to her shoulder. Mm-hmm. So she is in pain, right? That was like the scream one. Queen heard it. Mm-hmm. Queen's probably happy eating grapes somewhere. Then he's like, here's this baby dagger. Let's get it over with. And then the dagger melts away. And he's like, WTF, what's happening? And she's like, I don't know what's happening. And so there's a little bit of silver in all of the things. And then again, I go back to questioning the size of it one more time, right? She says it's a small dagger, but the small dagger talked to her. But then did this one just have more Quicksilver in it because it was a queen's, like from the queen's palace? It was one of those weapons. But then the daggers that Elroy like had on the table, the older daggers, did those have a less Quicksilver in them because they were maybe not made from, like they're not from palace weapons, right?
Well, the difference that you're seeing in I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like the difference that you're seeing between them, right? The dagger's sitting on the table and she spins it around, okay? Doesn't talk to her. But she's literally about to die at the hand of this dagger
Mm-hmm.
And so then the Quicksilver's like, unmake me. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it has to do with what position she's in.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not so much how much Quicksilver, right? But if there's a lot more, we know that it gets louder and it never shuts up. But if it's only a small amount, right? Or like the one in the lever in the ground, right? It wants her to know that it's there, but maybe not so much that it's like, you need to do something with me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's okay. That's fair.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like that. It makes sense. So as the pool of silver is now like, it's like crawling towards Heron, right, from the knife. And he's like, you're going to end the world with this. And she's like, great. This world sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. She's looking for a weapon. She's like, I got to finish him off. Like, he's got to go. And then she goes out and she finds that it's not actually a lever, but another sword buried halfway into the ground, right? So she's like, whoa, it's not a lever, it's a sword. And Heron says the magic words of this book: do not touch the sword. Do not turn the key. Do not open the gate. Like, he's like screaming this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's panicking, full panic. She obviously does touch the sword. She does turn the key, and she for sure opens said gate.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't listen, just like her brother. So, and then she obviously opens it. She notes something is loosening, like in the center of her. Like, she's like, something's happening in here. Something's loosening, like an awakening, right? And then the quiet voice in her head says, let's be done with it then. And I don't know, I had to read this a couple times because I kept reading it in an accent. Let's be done with it then. Not how it's read. And I've listened to this book as well.
Right.
Let's be done with it then. Carry on. I don't know. So, I don't know why I couldn't read it in a regular voice. So she pulls...
Is it not the Quicksilver?
It is.
Okay, that's what
it's a quiet voice in her head, right? It's
yeah.
Like, it doesn't clarify like the metal specifically,
right?
But knowing
later on, it does do that.
Yeah, knowing what we know, knowing that random things talk to her all the time,
right?
My guess, and then the Quicksilver is like has funny voices all the time, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Let's be done with it then.
Sometimes they're little choruses too.
Yeah,
of voices.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be. So she pulls the sword out of the ground and she brings it up and she swings it right into Heron's shoulder. Right, the ground beneath her starts to pool into swirling silver. Like, she's like sinking in. She can't move. The silver's happening. She's like, what is going on? Right. And then after a minute, it turns into like a circular pool. And she crashes to the side because she's like stuck at first. And then she falls over. She like hits her body on the side. Poor Heron is like getting covered in this silver. It hasn't touched his skin yet because he's still got his like armor on, but it's getting close up to his face. Right. And then it said, blackness crept in. It was death. Spoiler, it was not death. It was not death. It was not. And then it says, emerging from the silver, the huge figure rose up from the pool as if ascending from the very depths of hell itself. Broad shoulders, wet shoulder-length black hair, taller than any man had ever seen. His eyes shone an iridescent, shimmering green. The pupil of the right eye rimmed by the same shining metallic silver that ran in ribbons from the black leather armor that covered his chest and arms.
Such a good description.
Poetry.
What a beautiful man or figure, I guess.
Send that quote to the Golden Globes. Quote of the year. No, there'll be more quotes in this book that should be in the Golden Globes.
That's true. Yeah.
Let me tell you one right now. So right when Death is about to bring his black sword right into Ceres, right? He looks at the sword that she is holding and he goes, "Graceless gods," he hissed. "What's this? A fucking joke?"
And you get the first line out of the most important man in this book
ever.
That's how you know he's going to be a good MMC, which is main male character. But, ooh, that took... the voice too of it
Yes.
if you're listening to the audiobook, wow.
Yeah, Anthony does a great job.
Wow,
It's
amazing.
incredible.
If you didn't know, the guy in this book who does the voices literally for all the male characters, not just the main male character, he also is the voice of Rysand in the audiobooks for ACOTAR. So I first fell in love with him there. And then that was easily the selling point when you were like, you have to listen to this book. It's this guy. And I was like, all right, well, I'm definitely not reading the book then. I will be listening to it because he is amazing at his job. Immaculate. Anyways,
Agreed.
Sorry. Shout out.
It is confirmed that he is going to be the voice in the second book as well, Brimstone, when it comes out in November. So that he is carrying over. There's a preview out for the book with like a little video on it that was really awesome. And he is voicing that as well. So I think I'm really grateful that he chose to continue this with the second book and keep Kingfisher's voice as is, because I think it would be like with The Witcher where they're just switching actors. And obviously it hasn't aired yet, so I don't know how it's going to go. But in my mind, end of this episode is going to be Henry, and then start of this other episode is going to be Miley Cyrus's ex.
Right.
And they're going to be like, how are they going to know? They're never going to know. They're going to know. I know. So thank you, Anthony, for sticking with it. I hope they pay you whatever you ask for.
He did a pretty amazing job.
He did a great job.
I honestly don't know if Kingfisher would be fighting for my number one spot for MMCs if it wasn't his voice.
It does truly bring the character to life.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree with that. So during this time, Heron is struggling and he starts saying all sorts of crazy stuff, right? He's like covered in silver at this point. And so he starts saying, he yells obsidian 3 times. He's like, obsidian, obsidian, obsidian. But my question is, why? Why is he yelling obsidian? Is it him? Is it the Quicksilver like in his brain forcing him to say these words? I don't know. However, I did look through the rest of the book, and the term obsidian is used quite a few times as we get to like around the 300 page mark in Sannisroth. Right. So it's used to describe like the walls and the floors and the arena, and it's razor sharp, and it's like just used to describe weapons. And so it was very interesting that those are the words. So I think there is some foreshadowing there. I just don't, I'm not connecting it yet, but I will eventually. I'll get there.
Yeah. That's
so
interesting.
If anyone has thoughts on that, drop that in the comments, because I'd like to know what I'm missing here. I was like, why are you yelling obsidian? What is that even? Is that a cuss word? Is that is that like graceless gods? Is that like gods? I don't know. I was like, what does that mean? But I think it's connected to something. And so he's eventually silenced by the silver. Like silver is 100% over him. He's done. He's gone. Right. We know that he is not really gone, which I also have more questions about as we get like later in the episodes. I think like shows back up, and I'd like to know who came in and helped you.
Madra.
Did the queen come in? Is she able to like take all the silver off you, help you?
I don't know, but in my mind, it probably is her, because she's supposed to be this sibling of these two that we're going to meet later on, and they have these random ass powers and random ass things that they can do or whatever. So yeah, I feel like it was probably her. She's like, I've got it, no problem. Because he should not be alive. He should never show up again.
No, but he does. He shows up again. Right. And then he has both of his hands. So obviously she wasn't that upset. Because he's in one piece. But can you imagine, like, for how paranoid she was that Cerys might possibly be a Fae assassin coming to kill her. Right. And that, like, she's, like, checking that this room is, like, secure and it hasn't been touched and everything's fine. And then to come in, and not only is she gone, the gate is open, he's in silver, the sword is missing.
Yep.
Why? Why did we save Captain Heron? Why? What in her evil mind was like, I'm going to save this man? I would save him to then kill him again. Right? I'd be like, get the silver off of you. What happened? Okay, you're the worst. Like, done. Right? She didn't. She like kept him around and took him to the other realm and was like, come on, bro. Why?
I don't know. We're going to have to find that out.
I have a lot of questions. So, as she's laying down, she's like, death is here. It's coming. Like, everything's foggy. I can't see, like, the pain, all the things. Death approaches Ceres and slips a necklace onto her, right? Because he's still Death. We don't know who he truly is at this moment in the book, right? He takes a necklace off and he's like, if you die before I put this necklace on you, I'd be really upset. I'd be real mad. He like puts a necklace on her, picks her up, and carries her into the pool of silver.
And that's the end. That's the end of chapter 5.
That's chapter 5.
And that's the end of this episode.
That's the end.
What a cliffhanger.
Ta-da. Don't worry.
What a cliffhanger.
Next week, we will explore the cliffhanger and move in to many more chapters.
Yes. So next week, we are going to explore chapters 6 through 11 and where this silver pool takes her.
Who are you, Death?
And also, who's Death? I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
Never know. Amazing.
Cool.
The end.